I'm Joni with Looking at Careers with Joni, and I'm here today with Michael. Michael has had a real diverse career background, and he's had a lot of jobs where he's felt like he's hit his limit and he's wanted to make changes, and he's stepped up to the plate and he's made some dramatic changes with his life and moved forward and has had a fabulous career. So, Michael, let's go back to the beginning. So you went to college, right? And what
Absolutely.
and what did you study?
So I I originally went to college for music, and I came kind of from a family of musicians. So the they won't call it a pressure, but there's an expectation that if you do well in something, you run with it and you keep going.
Right.
So originally started in college with music, went there for a year, and I was like, oh, this is not for me. I need to talk to people. I can't be locked up in a practice room all day.
Right.
So I ended up going into a private Christian school next
Hmm.
and studied psychology because I wanted to be involved with others and kind of help them on their journey any way that I could. So that's
Right.
kind of where it started, and that's what I went to college for. And then
Okay.
I graduated. Go ahead.
And I also have a psychology degree, and that
Yeah,
that I never did anything real with that, but it has helped me in my career. How did that help you in your career?
I think it definitely helped in some ways, especially for sales stuff and figuring out, kind of just empathy and connecting and kind of asking some of the right questions. So I
Right.
think there's definitely some value in it for sure. I don't think, it was worth 4 years of my time, but the classes, like the good classes that were very specific,
Right.
were applicable and very valuable.
Mm-hmm. So you got out of school and you have a psychology degree. What did you do?
So that I immediately started regretting getting a psychology degree within months after college. It was embarrassing. So I worked at a Starbucks, and one of my friends from high school, one of his good friends came in. They went to college, like they went to like a nicer college, a more expensive one. They got super high paying jobs.
Oh.
Like they were killing it at like 24. I'm like, what am I doing? Like I completely messed up. So I immediately regretted it. So I got a job. And I got a job in retail at um, a Walgreens, of all
Okay.
places, by
Yeah.
accident, just because we knew someone from music school. So I started
Mm-hmm.
out as an assistant there and ran with it as hard as I possibly could. Within a couple years, I got promoted to store manager, and like that was like the big thing. That was the big goal. And they offered me a job, and they said, "Hey, less than 2 years, we think you're ready for a store, but it's in Virginia, and that was, 8 hours away." They're like, "But you're gonna have to move."
Yeah.
And I said, "Well, absolutely. I'm the company guy. I'm like, here we go. Like, whatever you say." And job took me across the country, ran a couple stores, did that for about 5 years, ended up getting promoted to a way busier store, had 40 people, staff, and it was just crazy, super busy. And
Uh-huh. And did you ever want to go corporate then rather than just retail?
you know what? I thought about it. The longer I did it, the more I enjoyed the dynamic of being in the store and being with
Okay.
employees and putting out fires all day.
Uh-huh.
And that
But
was until I got sick of putting out fires all day.
yeah.
And until I got sick of dealing with employees calling off and drama and conflict and babysitting, it was awesome while it lasted. Learned some great skills. But that was the thing. It was 2012, and I was just talking to someone about this the other day of like that time in my life where, all right, I felt maxed out. Like I felt I had nothing more to give, and I wanted something more for myself.
Right. So where'd you go?
So I read actually this guy named James Altucher. He had a book called Choose Yourself. I read that about that time. He wrote an article, and he writes this article every year, but it's like top 10 reasons why you should quit your job. And he lists out 10 reasons. And that time it just like stuck. Like these every single reason like speaks to me. So I'm like, I gotta quit. So I didn't know what to do. I'm like, I have to take the jump, I gotta take the leap. And I'm like, I can talk to people. Like, let me get into sales. I'm like, well, what kind of sales? I'm like, I don't have enough time because I hate my job at this point. I'm like, what do I do?
Right.
And like, I really hated my job. Like, I was super positive up until the last few months, and I don't know if like you've ever had this experience or like someone in your audience has of like, you get to that point where you're like, wait a minute, like you were kind of happy, kind of satisfied up until a point,
Hmm.
and then you're like, hold on a second, like I'm not happy. Something's not adding up.
When you make that decision, you're done. When you're done, you're done. I don't think there's ever any turning back.
Yeah, exactly. There's no turning back because like once that idea's in, and once you're like have that realization or that self-awareness,
Yeah.
you're like the longer you stay, the worse it gets.
You know what that reminds me of, though? So when you go in and say, okay, I quit, and I'll give you 2 weeks' notice or even 2 months' notice, those 2 weeks or 2 months are really a waste. Because once you made that decision to quit, you're not the company guy anymore.
Yeah, I mean, who invented that 2 week notice in the first
Right,
place? Like, someone created that so their employees can't just bail on them.
right,
Like, you don't owe your employer 2 weeks. You don't owe your employer if you're not happy. Like, the owing is done.
right. Yeah. So you checked out. Mentally, you checked out. You gave notice. And where'd you go? What'd you do?
Yeah, I gave notice and left on really good terms. 'Cause they
Good.
don't, you don't want to burn bridges.
Yeah,
That's not
that's
cool.
important. That's important.
Right? Yeah, I'm not saying like, don't just burn bridges and blah 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 2 weeks. You
Yeah.
don't owe me. But ended up getting a job with a mortgage broker, and
Okay.
it just sounded cool. I didn't really know much what that was,
Yeah.
but after work one day, I was still in my work outfit. I was just like beyond frustrated at this point. I showed up at this guy's office. I knew where he worked, and it said like I even forget the company's name, but his name was Eric. So I just walked into his office. I'm like, hey, I work at the Walgreens down the street. I run the store, but here are my skills. Here's what I've learned, and I think I can contribute to your team. Can we talk?
Hmm.
And he's like, yeah. We had a good hour conversation and hired me on the spot.
Let me ask you, when you did that, was there an ad or something you knew he was looking for to hire?
No,
Then how did
there's
you know what skills he was looking for?
I didn't.
Oh, wow.
Because see, so while I was like even in college and even in retail, like what did I do in my free time? I didn't really, read. I didn't I didn't do anything that wasn't necessarily not self-improving. Like I read business books, I read sales books. Like I was still trying to learn and just develop as much as I can. So I still had an element of sales and experience bringing that to the table. And I
Right.
knew there's an element of relationship building that everyone needs.
Sure.
But in that situation, I was like, hey, here's what I can. And plus, we had a dialogue.
Hmm.
We talked, and just having that conversation of allowing him to explore what I had to offer made a difference in that conversation.
Right. So let me ask, what kind of skills were transferable from working retail to being a mortgage broker?
So, number one was just the people skills, being able
Hmm.
to connect, being able to talk to, like at Walgreens, you gotta be able to talk to the angry lady who weren't able to get her prescription on time, or the little lady looking for the jar of mayonnaise, that's on
Hmm.
sale. So you're figuring out a substitute, and then 5 minutes
Right.
later, you got to deal with an employee call off.
Yeah.
And then you have like this other employee who's going on vacation and she needs to like, you got to negotiate some vacation time because she's going around across the world because that's where she's from. She only sees her
Yeah.
family one time a year. So just
Right.
that versatility, just the versatility of dealing with the different dynamics of people.
Right. Right. Okay. And that would be the most important skills to work in the mortgage industry, but you must have some kind of mathematical mind too.
You know what, surprisingly, Joni, they didn't care that my math was terrible.
Oh, wow. Okay.
They said it was just more like just talking to people and building relationships.
Oh, that's great. Okay. So you got this job as a mortgage broker, and what happened?
I got the job as a mortgage broker, and within a few months, I didn't close any mortgages. I talked to some people,
Mm-hmm.
and I really didn't like it. It was not an environment I was in, and I ran out of money. So I'm like, oh no, what do I do next?
Don't you hate that?
Yeah, yeah. Well, and this was a mistake on my part. it was 100% commission. So I put myself out
Oh,
on the
that's
ledge.
hard. That's tough.
Yeah, yeah, it wasn't wise at the time, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But you learn a lot though.
Yeah. I mean, I hate to say it like this, so, but take it how you want. To take a job that's commission only, they hire warm bodies because they have nothing to lose. So
Yeah,
you're the only one that has anything to lose in a commission only job.
that's a really good point. That's a really good point. And that's a false expectation I brought to the table is, even at companies like Walgreens, barely, I shouldn't even like give them the credit.
Mm,
But like there is an element like I enjoy self-improvement, self-development, so having that expectation that anyone else could provide that but myself,
yeah,
massive mistake for 26-year-old.
sure. But still, that good experience, good learning, and you don't want to make that mistake when you're 50. Better to make it when you're in your 20s. So that was actually a good learning experience. So where'd you go? What'd you do?
It was a great learning experience because I moved back to Youngstown, Ohio,
Mm-hmm.
and the only thing I had with me so was sales experience from being
Right?
a mortgage broker. I mean, it got so bad, and I tell this story every time. It got so bad, I was looking for customers. I grabbed a phone book and just started calling businesses. I went to that, started with the A's. I went to the
Yep.
B's and just started calling people. Hey, do you know anyone who needs a mortgage? Hey, like legit, like cold calling to
Yep.
the core. And it didn't have enough time to like get through the whole alphabet until like things went south.
Yeah.
So moved back home, went to a BMW dealership, and I was like, hey, here are my skill sets. I just spent the last 4 months calling people out of the telephone book, like clearly demonstrating some skill sets you can use. And they're like, this is great, wow, and I just sold my way into there.
Wow, that's great. So you were selling cars, good
Sold cars.
cars.
They were nice cars. I was fortunate. I didn't want to sell any other cars.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And did you sell a lot?
Sold a handful. It was a small dealership in Youngstown, Ohio.
Mm,
There's the bigger dealerships in Pittsburgh, Cleveland, and some of the larger markets. But this opened me up to some awesome exposure, some really good salespeople, and really good communicators. And that
yeah.
was when I think like the development of sales really took off. Because you're talking across from the table from somebody asking them to purchase a $65,000 car.
Right.
There's it's sink or swim.
Right.
There's
And I can't imagine there's a lot of people in Youngstown buying cars like that.
yeah, true. That is very true.
But that's great. Did you get a good deal on a car?
There was good deal. They had a good offer on a lease I almost took. It was really close.
Mm,
Um, but I didn't want to lease because I drove a lot, so I knew I was going to
okay.
break it. I was like, no, I was done with that.
Sure.
But that was good. And then, I can't sit in one place for long because I ended up going to graduate school like within a year after that.
Okay. And that's good. What did you study then?
So I ended up wanting to go deeper into psychology and counseling. So I was working on a master's degree in counseling psych over at the Youngstown State University.
Okay. That's good.
It was fun. I've never been in graduate school before that day, before that time. So
And did you like it?
no, no,
Did you graduate?
no, no, even
Oh,
better. Yeah, this gets better. Yeah, or worse. Um, I went there for a couple years, so this is great. It was actually a super valuable experience. So I got in the industry and ended up working at a men's drug rehabilitation facility.
okay.
Did that. I did that my first couple semesters,
Mm-hmm.
and then got experience there. Kind of took a break. I ended up selling high-end mattresses, and I worked for a franchise company. This is all
Okay.
through grad school, so I'm like, you're in school full time, and
That's
then you're like,
good.
oh, you got to work and pay the bills. So I
Right.
sold mattresses for a few months, and then I got a job with a franchise development company. This was good, and then another job I had in graduate school was working at the state psychiatry hospital, the psych
Mm,
hospital,
yeah,
and that was deep, because you can really get to experience some things there for sure.
I'll bet.
Um,
Scary stuff too, I'm sure.
Yeah, so during grad school there was, wide range of I think all my skill sets were getting worked the last
Mm-hmm.
couple years.
Yeah, yeah. So you dropped out of school.
Yeah, so Oh my gosh. So I was in graduate school for about 2.5 years. I had a semester and a half left.
Huh?
I started internship. I did internship for a semester and a half, and I hated it. And this was like, oh no, like here we go again. Like
Right,
I got into something and I'm unhappy. No bueno.
right.
And also throughout the time, I'm like, still reading sales books. This time, I'm like getting more into marketing and advertising and copywriting. And I'm like, listen, like I can't keep doing this. So within like the last semester, I dropped out. I had one semester left after that one, and I was just like, I'm done. I had to walk away.
Oh, wow.
I was seeing real clients too, and I was just like, listen, I
Like
can't.
3 or 4 more months, and you would have had what, a
I
PhD?
would have had a compounded, miserable experience.
Well, okay, fair enough.
3 more months of sticking out. What more misery?
Right. Yeah, better to cut the
Um,
cord. You're right.
yeah, and I just didn't see, you know, my dreams have changed and shifted too over being in graduate school for a couple of years and having some exposure, some like real exposure in the industry and
Yeah,
exposure to like more world exposure and being like, you know what, yo, that was pursuing a dream that I had in my 20s
right,
that I was trying to recapture, and
right.
now I'm a different person.
Okay, fair enough. Now, what did you want to do?
So then I became a copywriter and focused on advertising 100%.
Now, that sounds like a fun job to me.
It was amazing, and I still love it, and I still do it
Okay.
today.
Oh, that's great. Okay. How'd you have the skills to do that?
So there's an element of so the type of like advertising that I specialize in is called direct response, and that's like selling and getting results online. So or in print, in person, and the main difference between like how we do advertising and everyone else is that all of our results are tracked. So there's like an element, like a scientific kind of process to direct response that's found nowhere else in advertising or marketing.
Mm-hmm.
So there's like a common sense element to it of like what we do is tracked verbatim. Like you can see like how we got the like where the sales came in from, where
Mm-hmm.
did they fall off, and then how to improve them. And that's one half of it. The other half of it is just the art and sales of capturing attention, building the hook and all that
Do you
fun stuff.
do you do the arti? Wait a minute. Let me step back. Is that the job you're at right now?
Yeah, so right now, have you ever seen the movie or the TV show Mad Men?
I never watched it, but I know about it.
Yeah, and Mad Men's a show about kind of like an office of advertisers, ad men, and all
Mm-hmm.
they do is sit around the office all day and smoke cigarettes and come up with advertising ideas to
Right.
sell products.
Right.
And that's the closest version to what I do right now.
Cool.
We kind of just sit around and come up with ideas to sell financial products to people interested in trading in the stock market and
Okay.
you know people who think about retirement long term and how to take their finances in their own hands.
But is this the company that you started working at when you dropped out of school?
No, no. When I dropped out of school, out of graduate school, I didn't work for anyone. I started freelancing and doing things for myself.
Okay.
I
How?
just started getting clients. I watched some videos on YouTube.
Yeah.
I read books and I was
Okay.
self-taught.
Okay. That that seems to be a real familiar thing that a lot of people I'm talking to are saying. That's how they're moving up in the world, and that's how they're getting better jobs, and that's how they're getting off in new careers. So I think that that's a good way to start moving forward if you're tired of what you're doing. So I think it's great.
Yeah, the YouTube University is definitely a good thing.
Hmm.
I got lucky because I found a lot of the right people to follow. There's
Okay.
some YouTube that not every video on YouTube is valuable. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
not every instructor gives the same
Sure.
amount of value. So, but I also read books, and I think that was a massive thing too. Like I'm a pretty avid reader, and
Hmm.
having the books, it was super valuable. The same more than the YouTube because it's easy to get distracted on YouTube and consume the content. Like when you're reading a book, there's more engagement. There's like you're actively reading rather than just consuming the content like on
Sure.
YouTube. That
Sure.
doesn't mean there's not value in there. There certainly is.
Right.
The right people in the right industry can definitely teach you a lot with the free stuff on
Hmm.
YouTube.
Yeah, and a lot of variety is a good thing. So you went off on your own. How'd you get clients?
So the first client I got was a gym, a small boutique gym in Girard, Ohio,
Okay.
called Hybrid Barbell, and they're like a mix of like group classes and individual training.
Uh huh.
And I just went up to them. I said, "Hey, trying something. Can I experiment with you?" Like it's just very like, "Hey,
Wow.
I'm doing this." So I guess I should let me. I guess disclaimer: this wasn't a paid thing, but
Okay.
this is an important thing that I did, which like launched everything else. Is like, hey, I did a tiny bit of work for them for free,
Mm-hmm.
and it worked. And I got in return, they gave me a testimonial that said, hey, here this guy helped us out. He got his clients and results, and the testimonial was awesome. I'll send it to you if you want. If you
Okay.
want to see it, it's like,
Sure.
hey, Mike did some work for us. Blah 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 blah. He got people in the door, paying customers, and it was great. So I did that then for them for free. They paid for the ad spend, so I made a video for them, made an advert on Facebook, and got them some clients within a pretty short time. And that testimonial I've used and just parlayed that into some of the other clients that I got, and
Okay.
just from there. So paying clients though, when I was doing
Yeah.
like the freelance and trying to figure some stuff out. So one way that I found clients and it worked. It worked actually a few times. Was Facebook groups.
Okay.
That was huge. So there's a lot of Facebook groups. So like in marketing, there's a really popular group called ClickFunnels,
Okay.
and it's massive following.
I know
Cool
about
software.
ClickFunnels. Yeah.
Yeah, and they have this group in there, and they kind of started this strategy. It didn't. I got clients from that group and another group. Anyway, but
Yeah.
like you can, people that have issues or problems with the software or like the landing pages or copy,
Mm-hmm.
they might have problems. So someone makes a post or they have issues, and you kind of just help them through, and they say, hey, if you want more help, then let me know. Here's an
Yeah.
example. Here's an example. So there's this guy named Dan Henry, very good marketer, very good salesperson. He
Mm-hmm.
had a Facebook group. Well, in that group, this guy said, hey, I need help running Facebook ads.
Mm-hmm.
Can anyone help? I'm like, I could definitely help you for sure. I had no idea what I was doing. I
Uh-huh.
was like, yeah, I can help. I'm great at Facebook ads. And he's like,
Confidence is
okay.
a good thing.
Yeah. So here's what we did. We got on a phone call,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, hey, let me see your ad campaigns and how you're running stuff, and let me see how I can help you.
Right.
So he gave me access to his Facebook ads, and we're on the phone while we're doing this. This is all live. Like,
Yeah.
so I was like, we're looking at some of his stats, and I come to find out that it's like 90% of his buyers were women.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy ran the largest Filipino food store in America. A super awesome guy.
Wow.
But he found out that, yeah, super niche. And he found out, we're looking at his stats, 90 some percent of his buyers were women,
Mm-hmm.
and the rest were men. I'm like, listen, if you just shut off advertising to the men, you're not going to lose anything because they're not buying anything. So just only
Right.
advertise, blah, blah, blah. So we talked about some strategy stuff, and he's like, dude, this is great.
Yeah.
And hired me. And, that was like, I made $2,000 that day. I'm like, oh, this is great. And they're like, wow, and did some Facebook ads for him for a while. It was great.
Yeah, that's great. And then why did you decide you didn't want to be independent? Why did you decide you wanted to go work for a company?
Yeah, so after did some freelance and Facebook ad stuff, and I just didn't like the freelance lifestyle of
Oh,
cause see, 'cause I would spend half the time trying to find clients, then once I got a client, I would have to not do the work because I would too busy trying to find more clients, or I
sure.
would have to do the work and then not find the client. So like,
Right.
so
Yeah, that
going,
balance is hard.
yeah. So I was like, listen, hey, that's the first reason, but the second reason was because I was doing everything. I was, writing the copy, setting up Facebook ads, and targeting and media buying, and there's so
Mm-hmm.
much stuff. And I was talking to my cousin, and he's like, "You just got to focus on one thing." It's like if
Yeah.
you had to pick just one thing and just do that, like what would that be? What's the most valuable thing out of all that stuff, out of all the advertising, of all the media buying, copywriting, Facebook ad, like pick one.
Mhm.
And the
Mhm.
most valuable one is copywriting. Is
Okay.
just being able to take an idea, put it on paper, and have people respond to it.
Mhm. And the copywriting that you do then, is it similar to what you see in ClickFunnels? So if I go to buy something on Facebook, I see the I see the ad, and then it says, and to find out more, click here, and then I click here, and there's another ad, and then I say, okay, maybe I'll buy that, and then they'll say, but wait, and there's another ad, right? Is that kind of what's valuable? Is that how it's working?
So that's definitely what's valuable in that is the person who can envision that,
Mm-hmm.
first of all, and kind of envision that process, but also be able to put that on paper
Is that
and
you?
then write that. Yes. So
Okay.
like, so we'll write similar to ClickFunnels. We'll write right now. Our major traffic source is email.
Okay.
So a lot of
Okay.
people subscribe to our list. We have hundreds of thousands of people on our email lists, and we write emails,
Mm-hmm.
and and then they click the email. It goes to a landing page or video on it, VSL or the thing, and
Mm-hmm.
then as the copywriter, I write the email, then I write the landing page with the headline, and then in the middle is typically a video. If we're selling it's a video script, and I'll write the script of the video, and
And
then
somebody else in your company does the video, or do
someone
you
else
do?
in the company
Okay.
shoots the video, someone else in the company speaks. I don't do the
Okay.
speaking.
Okay.
And when they're done speaking and they're finished with the script, there's more, click here
Yeah.
if you want to blah, blah, blah. And
Right.
then, we'll write the order form, the checkout page.
Mm-hmm.
People pay, but they're
Right.
not done because we're not done offering things. We're going to keep
Right.
selling them things.
Yep.
And then I write, an upsell. But then
Uh-huh.
if they don't want to write that, but if they don't want the upsell, we'll just offer them something else. Then
Right.
you ever buy something, it's like annoying because you can't click out.
Yeah.
Like, well, I'm
Exactly.
I'm the guy that makes it annoying.
Okay. I always wondered who did that and how they
Yeah,
came up with all
yeah.
that.
Who are those
And
people?
but here's what I've always wanted to know for that kind of sale. Do people keep buying? I mean, obviously, people must keep buying that, or else you wouldn't do sales like that, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So there's a guy named Dan Kennedy who's one of the greatest marketers and copywriters in the world, and he has a stat of, it's something like 15% of your buyers like will buy something else automatically. Like if you have 100 of your buyers, like you're like almost guaranteed that a small percentage of them will buy
Yeah.
the very next thing that you offer or the thing
Wow.
after that. So you look at some of the more like advanced people out there, they'll offer like four or five things after the initial buy
Right.
because they know once you buy something, you're already in that buying state. You're already in that like
Yeah.
you're in that mood and you're excited. So just keep offering. Absolutely. If you sell something again and then again and again and again and again.
That's just amazing to me. I always wondered if people really kept buying like that because I
Oh
see
yeah.
those. I just want to get out once I buy it.
Oh yeah, you know what's coming. Like I'm the same way. I'm the same way. I'm like, all right, I'm only gonna buy one thing. If I do this, no matter what happens next, no matter what happens next, just
Yep.
stop after this one.
Yep.
Then I get sucked in. Then I watch the video. I'm like, oh, that's a good one now. And
Yeah.
then
I do
and
that
then
too. Yeah.
then they're like, this offer will only be this one time. I'm like, this one time only. Like I write that. Like I know what he's doing because I write it. It's like this one time only. I'm like, I don't want it to be. I don't want to miss out. I know what they're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. And is it really only one more time? One time
Yeah,
only. You never
one
get
time
that
only.
offer again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're telling me we're never gonna see this again?
Yeah.
Okay,
Uh,
I'll buy it. I'm like, oh,
yeah.
they got me. Got me again.
Well, at least I'm not the only one that goes through that mind process. If you're writing the ads and you're doing that, I feel pretty good about me. So it's still fun. How long have you been here?
Yeah, it's so much fun. I've been writing financial copy for about 3 or 4 years.
Nice. And freelance before that. So that's a fun thing to do. And it's amazing to me the different kinds of jobs you've had where you've been able to get to where you are. I mean, logically, I would look and say those jobs don't even go together, but the skills that you had that took you from one job to the other are pretty important.
Yeah, Yeah, no, I appreciate you seeing that. Because when you
Hmm.
tell your mom and dad that you got like four new jobs in the last 6 months, they're like, "What are you doing with your life?"
I get it. I get it. I've made a few career transitions myself. Yeah, but that's good. But it is not everybody could see the skills and how to transfer them. And that's one of the things I'm trying to accomplish in these videos. So I think that you're a great inspiration to people that are trying to do that.
No, I appreciate it. It was, I got lucky. I got lucky with the people that I met and the jobs and opportunities, that came up. Just trying to figure out like what is it that I really enjoyed. Because sometimes, I don't know if you've ever felt like this, you just don't really know yet until
Yeah,
like you experience it. It's
yeah. Yeah, I don't think you're ever too old to question that. What do I really like? And what do I really want to do? Because it changes at all different stages of your life. So it continues, it never ends. So
it
it's not
keeps
that
going. So there's
unusual.
no stopping.
There's no stopping. Some people stay in the same career forever and they're content because they're making a lot of money and they're content, but other people have this drive that they keep wanting to have this euphoria and stay in jobs that give them that thrill. And either whatever works for you, but some people are going to continue to change.
Hmm.
And I've continued to change, you've continued to change, I think you always will. That's good.
I think so too.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, we
yeah.
have to.
But one problem people have is, you're smart enough, no, you're wise enough to see the skills and how to transfer those skills to the next step in your life. And that's good. People can look at you though and I think learn a lot. So I think that this interview is a great interview for people.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And that's one of the things that I think a lot of people are either afraid of, but not necessarily, they don't have to be. Like it's just an awareness thing. Some people aren't aware that, hey, can a public school teacher transfer their skills to the marketplace? Like absolutely,
Right.
because you're talking all day. Like you're dealing with children. And in
Yep.
outside of school, we're still dealing with children. They're just bigger, you know.
That's right. Yeah, I started as an elementary school teacher. My
Oh,
next,
really?
yeah, my next job was adults that acted the same way.
No difference. You saw
Like
the
being
same
in,
thing.
yep, yeah, never changed. But I think I'm finding the same thing right now with nurses. The healthcare industry is like, I just can't do this anymore. But those skills are so transferable if you take the medicine out,
Mm.
or even if you don't take the medicine out. There are different things that you could do rather than work in a hospital or work in a doctor's office. So, I mean, you're a good inspiration. What else do you have to say to people? Anything else to get people to a point where they're not afraid to take the next step?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of just got to do it. I think being unhappy is the best signal, be it subconsciously or be it, externally. Like you get that feeling inside, that disgruntledness, whatever it is that about it that makes it happy. It's not them,
Yeah,
it's you, it's me. It's like, why am I in it? Like, what is it around me that's causing me to feel this unhappiness or disgruntledness? Like, then I have to change it. Like that saying, if you want things in your life to change, you have to change things in your life. And part of that is changing the people in our lives,
right.
changing the career, the job, and just kind of figuring
Hmm.
it out and taking anything that gives you that green light, any
Yeah,
opportunity.
yeah. And some reason people are unhappy is the life part of life, and other parts is the job part of life. But shoot, I just forgot what I was going to ask you. When do you think when people work, because I think you have great insight on this, unhappiness is caused by what they're doing or by the people that they're working around?
I think enjoying the people that you're working with is one of the most dangerous things that we can encounter.
Oh,
Be- because that because I might like my coworkers,
mm-hmm.
but that doesn't make my job more secure. That doesn't
Okay.
mean that I'm going to accomplish my dreams. Like, yeah, like I love the people that I work with,
Yeah.
but what do I want for myself 10 years from now, 5 years from now? Like
Yeah,
before we started talking about like some real estate stuff, and I'm like, and I'm like, I'm actively looking at like 3 years, 5 years down the road. Like I'm not going to be a copywriter with this company forever. Like
right.
I love them, and like they make me a better writer. They make me a better salesperson.
Yep.
You know, it's just not in my cards. But in
Yeah.
this season of my life, it's in my cards, and that's But going to your point though, yeah, enjoying who we're with and who we're working with is massive on the happy scale.
And
Does that
sometimes
help?
that's just clients.
That's
Sometimes
clients
it's,
too.
yeah, it's not necessarily your coworkers, but it's often your clients too that make a difference in what you're doing. Do you
Oh,
want to
100%.
do you want to talk a little bit about the real estate area that you're moving into, or that you're looking at, or things
I
that you're
mean,
doing?
yeah, I'm well, fun. Well, the thing you just mentioned something that was kind of that I thought was interesting. Um, I almost forget what it was though, because you were talking about real estate.
I was
About
talking about your clients are as important
oh
to
yeah,
you.
yeah, yeah. So, oh gosh, I I just changed companies in the copywriting world,
Okay.
and in the middle of that, I was offered to do some work, like have an actual client. Like I haven't had a client in like a couple years, but
Mm-hmm.
these really nice, this nice these nice people wanted me to do some work for them. But like as soon as we started that client relationship, like I instantly saw that like it would not be worth it working for these people. But like
Okay.
all that to say, like client relationships and happiness, go together 100%. Like
Yeah.
you don't have to you don't have to suffer with crappy clients. Like you can fire clients. It's okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like there's no sense in working with sleazeballs.
I still have clients that I knew hundreds of years ago. You know, my initial clients when I first started working, I'm still friends with. So, some you
That's
just click with,
huge.
they're with you forever. So, whether you
Yeah.
want them to be or not. And, Facebook has a lot to do with that now, too.
Yeah. So the clients you had, like you guys had like you developed a relationship with them.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Was that like part of the plan at the beginning?
No, not at all. No. But you know what? I always had jobs where I had to go out and entertain my clients. I shouldn't say always, but a good portion of my jobs. So when you go out to dinner and you go to shows and you do things to entertain, you find a lot of similarities in people, and you get friendships. And just like anything, some of your friendships over the years go away, and some of them stick, and sometimes they're clients and sometimes they're not. So yeah, I've been real lucky though. I've made some good friends with a lot of my clients.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I love it.
That's awesome.
And I've been lucky enough to love almost every job that I've had, and the ones that I didn't love, I kind of checked out like you've talked about. And once you check out, you're just miserable until you really walk out the door. And
Yeah. Yeah, I
so,
mean, so what made you the ones that you checked out from like because it sounds like it's more than one.
couple.
A couple.
You know what? I had a job once where I did a lot of work in the legal field. And when you work in legal, you're going 100 miles an hour and your days never stop. And it's, 15-hour days, and you have to always hurry to get things done. And I left that world and moved into the corporate world because it was a 9 to 5. And I had a hard time making that transition of and it was kind of like hitting a brick wall. Like I just hated not having things to do 24 hours a day, so I stayed for the money money and a pension,
Yeah.
right? And I stayed long enough to get a good enough pension and save up a lot enough money to really make a big change, and basically that was what I did. And I should have cut the cord earlier than that. But at this point in my life, now I know I have a pension coming, and no matter what, life will be good for me. So you have to make
Mm,
those decisions too. But it's
yeah.
important to cut the cord when it's time.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you gotta just stick it out just for a couple more days, couple more weeks.
Yeah. Yeah,
and
even
then
if you're
go.
miserable. Yeah, and
Right.
then really go. And I'll tell you, did I walk away with any good long-term friendships from then? No, because I
No
was
way.
miserable the whole time I was there. So,
Oh,
but that's okay. Just a learning experience, and I've had enough good times that a couple bad years really didn't affect me.
mm, it's a good
So,
perspective, you
yeah,
know.
yeah. There's a lot of years there, so a couple bad ones isn't a bad thing.
Nice.
So, anyway, so that's everything I know. How about you?
That's awesome. No, I mean that's kind of I think that kind of wraps it up, and then kind of like you were saying, now just work on, what's next and creating some new dreams and new goals and working towards that.
Mm-hmm.
So I partnered with some people and, we're looking at some pretty niche, real estate um, classes and go. They're not classes like taking classes, but like mobile home parks is a very fascinating niche to me.
Yeah.
That industry, it's last vestige of affordable housing and
Mm-hmm.
certainly need in America. So that's an avenue that we're looking at pretty seriously.
I've heard good things about that industry, so I'm impressed that you're moving into it. That's great. That's
Yeah, it's
great.
been it's been awesome so far. So we're
You
working on some stuff over here. So it's exciting.
Awesome.
Just getting
Awesome.
started.
Mike, I really appreciate you talking to me today. You've got such great insight. I could probably talk to you for hours and hours, and someday I may call and ask you to do this again. But for
Absolutely. I'd be
now,
down.
but for now, I'll let you get back to your real job and let everybody know if you like this interview. Please give me a thumbs up below and subscribe to this channel. Again, I'm Joni from Looking at Careers with Joni, and I hope that you enjoyed this video and you'll join us for the next one too. Thanks again, Mike.
All right,
Okay.
the Joni. Thank you.
Uh huh.